Good night, Shabbos, everyone. This week's Parsha, Parshas Rabbi, begins with the very famous words, that behold, see that I'm putting before you today the bracha and the klala, the blessing and the curse. Now the Torah says a fascinating thing. Es ha-bracha asher tishmu el mitzvah Hashem Elokeichem. The bracha that you will listen to the words of Hashem Elokeichem asher anochi mitzav eschem hayom that I'm commanding you today. V'ha-klala, the curse, im lois hishmu, if you don't listen to the mitzvah Hashem Elokeichem v'satim in the derech and you go off the road, asher anochi mitzav eschem that I'm commanding you today, la'lechas acharei elokim achirim, you go after other gods asher lo yadatim that you had never known before. And if you look carefully at the wording of the pasuk, when the pasuk talks about the bracha, it says asher tishmu. It says when you listen to the mitzvos, these brachos, these blessings are going to come to you. But then when it says haklala, the curse, im lois hishmu, if you don't listen. And it's not assuming that we're definitely going to do mitzvos and we're perhaps maybe going to do averos. It understands that the same chance that we have to do mitzvahs is the same chance that we have to do averos. Why is it that we would give the bracha, and the bracha is listed as asher tishmu, when we listen? And the haklala, imlai, if you don't listen, then eventually this is going to happen. What's the difference between bracha and klala? The one is introduced with im, and one is introduced with asher. So we all know that Torah is for our own good. Living a life of Torah, following the commandments, following the mitzvahs, it's not just a way of receiving reward. It's not just because God has commanded us to do it, but that God has commanded us to do it and to live this way because this is the best way for us to exist. Living with this kind of ethical conduct ensures the success of our families, ensures the success of our nation, ensures the successful operating of our world. When we live with mitzvos, the schar, the yield, the payoff is immediate. We see a world that's balanced. We see a world that's healthy. We see a world that's living and existing and operating the way that it's meant to operate. We see the brachas in our lives. We see the brachas, the advantage, and the bracha that comes to us, it comes to us immediately. We can immediately see the yield, we can immediately see the positive outcome of the things that we do. Averas also bring a yield with them. Avera goreres avera. One avera causes another avera to happen. It creates a certain atmosphere. But when we stray from mitzvahs, we tear away the fabric of the Jewish people. We destroy the beauty of the world and the purity of the world, the character of the Jewish nation, the character of the Jewish family. But it's not always readily apparent because we often excuse its effects. We justify the ramifications. We often are oblivious to the harmful outcomes that are taking place under our very noses. The klala is im. The klala is, if you don't listen, then eventually you're going to see it. Eventually, you're going to turn around and you're going to say, oh my gosh, look at how we've deteriorated. Look at how far we've strayed. But very often, as we're operating through averos, we're operating through transgressions, we don't see it. It's not so apparent to us. And that's why the Torah says that mitzvah, the bracha, the blessing that comes from mitzvah, asher, it's immediate. The klala, unfortunately, it's not always so apparent until the end. And then it hits us in the face and we realize, oh my gosh, it's almost sometimes a little bit late to begin to correct and to begin to change things because we haven't even realized as we've been traveling along how far we're deteriorating and how far we're dropping. You know, often when we do an avera, we feel a certain geschmack. It's so delicious. You have a good piece of lashon hara. Oh my gosh, it's as good as a cup of coffee. It's just sometimes so amazing. Yet the pleasure in the beginning yields, turns into a great emptiness in the end. and we realize the devastation and destruction that we caused by the Avera, and we're left empty with nothing. Very often by mitzvahs, in order to motivate ourselves to do a mitzvah, to begin something that we have never done before, to become better and improve at things that we have been a little lax in, it causes us a lot of pain. To have to go against our natures, to have to go against our natural laziness. Sometimes at the beginning of the observance of a mitzvah, it's difficult. There's a certain fear, a certain trepidation, a certain worry of the amount of energy that we're going to have to put into it. And it causes us a certain amount of discomfort and a certain amount of pain. But then at the end, we're filled with an incredible sense of warmth, an incredible sense of accomplishment, an incredible geschmack. A tzaddik once said that you have to know that your life is going to be replete with coups of pleasure caused by Averis and with cries of anguish that are caused by mitzvahs. Know that the coups of pleasure are going to turn to cries of pain, and the cries of pain are going to turn into coups of pleasure. Make sure that you end your life with coups of pleasure from the conclusion of mitzvahs, and not the coups of pleasure caused by the beginning of Averos. The bracha that you'll see that bracha quickly. And the pain from the exertion will quickly turn to joy. But the klala, the curse, that won't be so obvious. The joy and the pleasure of the Avera will linger, but will soon turn to bitterness. Don't be fooled by the pleasure of Averis, and don't be afraid of the difficulty of the effort of mitzvahs. Hazorim b'dima, that when we plant with tears, berino yiktsaru, in the end, we'll rejoice when we reap. Keep your eyes open, and you'll quickly realize the bracha inherent in every single beautiful, positive thing that we do. That's what the Torah is teaching us. There's a big difference between bracha and klala. Bracha, the yield is immediate. If you just keep your eyes open, re'eh, you'll see its effect and you'll feel its effect immediately. Unfortunately, part of the danger of the klala is that we don't feel it so immediately. And it can cause a damage because it lingers. Re'eh, keep your eyes open, and your life will be filled with the incredible brachos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showers on us every single day. Have a beautiful, amazing, wonderful, and awesome Shabbos.